Carry on my wayward son. There'll be peace when you are done. Lay your weary head to rest. Don't you cry no more.
Welcome to another episode of Action Video Game Talk. I'm your host, Scott Action Jackson. Thanks for joining me today, or tonight, or whenever you're watching or listening to this episode. I do have a very long list of news articles to go through, so let's try and tackle them a little bit at a time. So let's go and hop right into it. A Gears of War Marcus Fenix collection isn't on the cards, according to Black Tusk's studio manager. Rod Ferguson, who is working at the developer in charge of the next entry in the popular franchise, dashed hopes of many gamers with his tweet, only to cause them to soar again moments later. I love the passion, but there's no Marcus Fenix collection, he wrote. We are working on other exciting Gears projects. I'll see you at E3. Notice how Ferguson said projects, plural. As far as we know, the new Gears of War title is the only game in the works at Black Tusk, since the project it was working on prior to Microsoft handing them the reins to the franchise was put on hiatus. The tweet could suggest otherwise, however. Of course, it's worth noting Ferguson could simply be suggesting Black Tusk isn't working on such a collection, or a wider anthology is being planned. Whatever the case, it looks like E3 is the place to be to find out more. So according to this bit of news article, apparently Black Tusk is not doing a Mark Fenix collection. However, they are planning other Gears projects. Now, this doesn't mean another company might be able to do a Mark Fenix collection, but then again, it doesn't mean they could try to do maybe some kind of anthology, including all the Gears games for the next generation system. Whichever the case is, we're going to get some kind of news at E3 involving Gears of War. At least that's what they're hinting at right here. I could see this going multiple ways. I could see them doing, or at least trying, a Gears of War trilogy for the 360, the first 3 games into a trilogy set, and re-releasing them for the 360. Or they could just try, like I said, an anthology and throw like all 4 games onto an updated version for the Xbox One. Microsoft may be looking to release a remastered version of Alan Wake for Xbox One. According to a survey that first surfaced on Reddit, it appears the Xbox manufacturer is gauging interest in a remade version of Remedy's Entertainment's narrative-driven action game for its latest home console. Not only does the survey ask users to rate their interest in Alan Wake, it also lists Alan Wake Remastered for Xbox One as a possible pre-order incentive for Quantum Break, the next big Microsoft-published exclusive from Remedy. Whether or not we'll ever see a remastered version of Alan Wake for Xbox One is hardly a given, but with Quantum Break's release reportedly pushed to 2016, one would think something like this would be a nice way to tide Remedy fans over. Geez, what isn't getting a remastering these days? It seems like just about half of the games on the new generation systems have already been out for the past generation, for the PS3 and 360. And apparently this could be another one right here, an Alan Wake for the Xbox One, which is a possibility. Hasn't been confirmed yet, but is a possibility. Now, there is going to be lots of Alan Wake fans out there who are going to be interested in this, but then again, this could be incentive for people to be interested in the Quantum Break game that's coming out. Square Enix has announced that Final Fantasy XI will be entering its sunset years as it enters year 14 of operation. The title will be getting one final set of content updates before going into its maintenance phase. Nicknamed the Valdel Project, Square Enix is transitioning Final Fantasy XI from a regularly updated title to one that simply receives maintenance for continued use. The final story arc, Rhapsodies of Valdel, will be released in 3 parts this year. These are scheduled for March, August, and November. This content will not be released on disc or as premium DLC. This hints that all players will be able to take part in the game's conclusion without paying an additional fee. Following this, PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360 versions of the game will be wound down. Service on these platforms will conclude in March 2016. The PC version will continue beyond that point though. So for 14 years, Final Fantasy XI has been still going on 360, PC, and apparently PS2. Now that I didn't know about. I mean, I knew about the 360 and PC version, but not the PS2 version. Although it would kind of make sense since they've had other Final Fantasy games on the PS2, and it was regularly a PlayStation exclusive. But this kind of makes sense. I mean, at some point, they would have to wind down and stop doing Final Fantasy XI. But at least with this, they're actually giving some players an actual notice and a heads up ahead of time. And it's going to be cut off for the PlayStation 2 and Xbox 360 version in March 2016, so next year. Nexon has announced that it is working with Square Enix to bring the world of Final Fantasy XI to mobile devices. The Korean branch of the company will be creating a new title that hooks into the 13-year history of Square Enix's first Final Fantasy MMO. Targeted for release in 2016, the mobile title will use art assets, storyline, and more from the PC and console version of the game. Nexon suggests the title will be free to play and will include both multiplayer elements and single-player content. Square Enix calls this an adaptation, but it's unclear how faithful the mobile installment will be. So there's going to be a mobile version of Final Fantasy XI that's targeted for release around 2016. Let's see, the PS2 and 360 version is supposed to be shut off on March of 2016. So that would make the perfect time for them to release this. And Square Enix is calling this an adaptation and is unclear how faithful the mobile installment will be. Yeah, I mean, you can say that with a lot of, I guess, mobile versions of games. You can't be quite sure how it'll be compared to the regular version. And Nexon here says that this title will be free to play on mobile devices, so that'll be a real plus for people who have been playing Final Fantasy XI and want to give this a try on the mobile device, whatever they're going to put on, either if it's going to be, but could be for normal, cell devices, could be for tablets and stuff like that. So it could be anywhere. I mean, we'll probably hear a little bit more, maybe at E3, maybe next year, who knows. Gearbox had laid out the necessary steps for players to bring their old saves forward to current consoles for the Handsome Collection. Though the official Gearbox explanation digs into the nitty-gritty details of transferring the save data, the overall process shouldn't be terribly hard for most players. In order to transfer old saves forward, all that is needed is the patches which enable cross-save functionality in Borderlands 2 and the prequel, as well as the Day 1 patch for the Handsome Collection. After that, it should be a fairly simple process of uploading and downloading saves using the in-game menus. There are, however, a few things to keep in mind. Gearbox only supports one save upload at a time, which means players will have to go back and forth between versions if they want to transfer all their characters. Unlike Sony systems, for which saves can be universally transferred, the Xbox versions of games can only transfer forward to Xbox One. Uploading the save also doesn't remove it from the original system. Not everything will transfer along with the saves though. Character level, mission progression, badass points, current inventory, weapon slot, money, interim, moonstones, unlock character customizations, and items stored in the bank in Sanctuary will all transfer. However, items stored in Claptrap's stash from Borderlands 2 will not transfer, nor will trophies and achievements. The transfer also leaves behind golden keys, which act as a currency for a game's variable level random loot generator. Gearbox is hoping to make up for that by handing out 75 golden keys, a healthy chunk of badass rank, and bonus customization items for people who played previous versions of the games. If you're confused or curious about the transfer process, Gearbox's official explanation has more detailed information. For me, this has been kind of a pain in the ass, because I had Borderlands 2 stuff on the PS3, which I traded in before the PS4 came out. So I would not have Borderlands 2 updated and have this additional patch to do the cross-save stuff. So in which case, I am thoroughly screwed on my previous character that's been built up for Borderlands 2. However, for those who still have the game, the Borderlands 2 and pre-sequel game, all you have to do is get the latest patch where you can have the cross-save, then get the Handsome Collection on PS4, Xbox One, and be able to do the transfer over in the same family. Now, apparently this can also happen with the Vita system, too. If you have, like, Borderlands 2 on the Vita system, in which case you've probably been doing some, cross-save with Vita and PS3 already. Now, it says not everything will be transferred over, though. If you did have items stored in Claptrap's stash in Borderlands 2, it won't transfer, and neither will the golden keys. Now, I don't think people are that worried about golden keys, considering how often some are given out. But at least they're trying to make up for it by, by handing out 75 golden keys and a healthy chunk of badass rank and a bonus customization items for people who've played previous versions. So I mean, in one case people are screwed, but in another they aren't. Well, that does it for this episode of Action Video Game Talk. Once again, thanks for joining me today, or tonight, or whenever you're watching or listening to this episode. Later on, I will have the separate clips up if you want to check those out. Down below, I will have the Facebook link if you want to check that out as well. Also, I'll have the address for the email account at Yahoo. So if you want to send any additional emails, questions, comments, go and send them there. So until next time, bye.